And so what I wanted to talk to you about for a few more minutes, is if you're considering being your own contractor, you're considering being in charge of the project, whether it's because it's a distressed project or whether it's because you just don't want to pay somebody to manage your project, you need to really understand what you're getting into if you decide to be your own contractor. And the best way to do that is to understand a few of the basic things that I, as a contractor, am responsible for to help you get through your project. And one of them, the biggest thing, is just management. It's just one word: management. And management, of course, entails my involvement with basically every aspect of the project, from the design, the architectural, the design, the initial discussions on whether or not you should even do the project. My job isn't to just go out and sell you me just because you have a desire to do something. My job really is to sit down with you at the very beginning and say, and ask you the question, is this something that you really want to do? Is this make sense for you? Can you afford it? Or do you understand what's going to happen when you do this project? And if all that works out, then we can move forward to the next step, which would be maybe the design phase and bringing in the other professionals that'll kind of get you started and get you through it, if you hadn't already done that. What I'm running into, and my vendors are running into, is a lot of people that don't take the time to ask that question. And so they're running into projects that are in a mode of being a problem. And so when that happens, it's just a bad situation for everybody. Nobody comes out good. Everybody, I get into them, and I've got a homeowner that is talking to their attorney, and the old contractor's talking to their attorney. And when you get the attorneys involved, then the whole thing is shot. And so remember that if you're going to be your own contractor, there's a lot of responsibilities. There's management of time and money. There's the accepting the responsibility of damaged goods, of scheduling people, of dealing with the city, dealing with inspectors. And this is all things that encompass my days, day in and day out. This is what encompasses my day. And if I do it right, then things will go fairly smooth. Nothing goes perfect. We always have little hiccups in a project. I don't care who you are or what you're doing. There's always a hiccup in the project. But with my experience, then I can usually sort of work through that. Well, I always work through it because I understand what I have to do to work through it. If you're a homeowner and you're being your own contractor, I wouldn't expect you to have that experience. And so you can end up in a huge mess. And so I've got a 5,000-foot house right now that is in a huge mess. And we're in there right now spending their time and money fixing things before we can move forward with finishing the house, because the work that was done previously was so bad. And so on the other side of town, we have another project that we're not having those issues because we have experienced people managing the project and doing the work, and they are getting through things properly. The pace is good. We knew the budget going in, and everybody understands what they have to do to be successful. So really think hard about it before you want to take on this project. It's not a part-time position being a contractor. If you're doing a really small thing and it's just something that you want to do as a hobby, that's fine. But I'm talking about, larger projects. So be careful with that. All right, here we go. Emails. We have some emails. And that what spurred me on that thought process this morning is one of the emails that I got. We have a house in our neighborhood that's been under construction for over 2 years. It's making the neighbors crazy, messy most of the time. equipment in the yard, what is the best course of action? Well, the first course of action is to contact the builder if you know who it is, which you can find out through the city, through the building permit, or he should have a sign in the yard, he or she. There should be a way to contact him and talk to him about it nicely. Be nice to him. Be nice to your builders. And then if that fails, of course, you're going to want to talk to the homeowner and find out what's going on that's causing this problem and see if there's anything you can do to help. Now, my suggestion is you put a donation box out in the front yard, and every time you have a bad thought about the builder or the homeowner or the house, you put $1 in the donation box and have everybody else in the neighborhood do the same thing to help them pay for the problems that they might be having. So I think a donation box is a good idea. But truthfully, you should, if you have real concerns, you should call the city and have the building inspector deal with it. Now, house that I'm working on, I've already had one phone call this week from a building inspector who is taking complaints from the neighbors for this is the distress house I was talking about earlier. And the neighbors are pretty upset about it. And I told the building inspector to tell the neighbors, be glad Alex is here because he's here to finish the project you're so mad about. And so that is a good way to start the conversation so someone else is having to have that hard discussion. The second thing is, talk to the homeowner and ask him if there's anything you can do as neighbors to get them moving faster, I guess. I don't know, because you just get into this, you just get to this point of everybody's trying to finish, everybody wants to finish, and don't get mad at everybody because that doesn't get anything done. So we're going to take a quick break. How much time? The other thing is, if the yard is messy, if they're not keeping it clean, get on them because they need to be keeping these they need to at least keep the property up. I know that on the one I'm working on, I had to get the homeowner to get a yard crew over there because the grass was growing too fast and it was looking pretty bad. So we did that. Okay, let's go to our next email. This is from Sherry. I've seen crafts and the use of recycled wood in houses. Is there an environmental and or personal danger in doing this? Pinterest is loaded with wonderful projects. Yeah, they are. Now, I did a project about 15 years, 20, maybe 20 years ago. It was a long time ago, where I had a client that wanted to have sort of a rustic look in her kitchen. And so we got to talking about a good way to do that. And every day that I drove into town, I was driving by this farm a couple of blocks from my house that had this old house laid out. The farmer had actually taken the house apart and stacked up the wood in a pasture. Everything, it had the bricks, it had the old windows, it had the old doors, it had all of the framing material, the siding, everything. And this house had probably been built in the 30s. So it was shiplap siding and all kinds of great stuff. And I drove by there every day and I kept thinking, man, someday I'd like to be able to use some of that. Well, when my client asked me about doing a rustic kitchen, my first thought was, I told her, let me call this guy and see if we can use this stuff. So I did. And shockingly to me, he's like, sure, take it. It's yours. So we loaded up everything from the old shiplap was what I was mostly interested in, because in the old houses, that was the wood that was behind the wall. That was the looked like siding on the inside of the walls. And it had old cheesecloth on it. So there's little strands of the cloth and all kinds of stuff. We loaded this up and we took it to her house and we actually did her entire kitchen with it. It was really cool. But one of the first things that we found was there was bugs in that wood. When we come back, we're going to talk real quickly about how I dealt with that and some of the other things that you need to watch out for if you're going to use old wood. You're listening to Remodel Revolution Radio right here on 620 AM. Don't go away. Some people think the only thing worse than calling the dentist is calling the foundation repairman. That's why I recommend Hargrave Foundation Repair. Cracks in the walls, doors that won't close, give the folks at Hargrave Foundation a call. Now, sometimes it's not the foundation at all. That's why you need an honest, proven company. You see, understanding the soils and weather is a must for a lifetime repair. Family owned and operated since 1968, Hargrave has seen it all. Hargrave Foundation Repair is fully licensed and insured, and their staff stays up to date on all the latest techniques and advances. So call one of the last independently owned foundation companies in North Texas and the exclusive installer of the Chance helical pier system. Call Hargrave Foundation Repair at 972-442-3415. That's 972-442-3415. Hargrave Foundation Repair, 972-442-3415. Alex Guthrie here for my friends at Total Air and Heat. Did you know a typical AC unit runs enough hours in a year equal to a car running 60,000 miles? Total Air and Heat recommends that you tune your system and have it safety checked every 6 months to ensure peak efficiency, proper operation, and increase the life of the system. Need a new air conditioning and heating system? No problem. Total Air and Heat can replace your equipment with the best equipment on the market today. Train. And you know it's hard to stop a train. So for the best heating and air conditioning contractors in North Dallas and Plano for the past 60 years, call my friends at Total Air and Heat. 972-881-0020. That's 972-881-0020. Or visit them online at totalair.com. Total Air and Heat. So what does a garage door do besides enhance your home, protect your family, and secure your vehicles? Well, when you contact the pros at Windsor Door, you'll learn how a truly high-quality garage door company can make a difference. Insulated doors, carriage-style doors, steel and custom wood, Windsor Door has them all and much, much more. And nothing makes a garage door work better than a high-quality opener. That's why the folks at Windsor Door only use LiftMaster garage door openers. And it's no wonder LiftMaster is the #1 professionally installed garage door opener. Only LiftMaster has patented MyQ technology, which alerts you if you forget to close your garage door and lets you close it from anywhere, anytime with built-in Wi-Fi technology. It also has battery backup, so you can get in even when the power's out. So contact a Windsor Door dealer near you at windsordor.com. Welcome back to Remodel Revolution Radio. Real quickly, to finish up this response to this email, you need to make sure that if you're going to use old wood, that's particularly old wood that's been out in a pasture like I did, that you make sure that it's not full of bugs. That was the main thing we had to do. We looked at it and there was some old termites and all kinds of stuff in there eating it. And we actually just, I think my carpenters just took some bug spray and, that probably wasn't great, but back in those days, that's what you did. But that's the main thing, because if you have beetles or something in that wood, and boring beetles will get in that old wood, you don't want them to decide to launch into the rest of the house and start getting in all the wood you don't want them in, like your hardwood floors and stuff. So be careful there. But other than that, I love using old wood, but I was looking on the internet with a client yesterday, and what we found was that there were some houses where people have just sort of started using old wood and it doesn't look quite right. It just isn't. It doesn't look like it's in the right place. And so you have to make sure that when you make these changes to your house, for instance, I looked at one that was a fireplace and it was floor to ceiling, old wood, but the house was this painted white, traditional, kind of modern looking house. And it just didn't look like it was in place. It just looked out of place. So it's a great thing to do. It's a green practice, actually, and it's recycling. But just think through it before you do it. It's a lot of fun. Hey, I've got a call I'm going to go to and talk to this guy, Mr. Chris Miles. How are you, buddy?
Yeah, since I've already had bacon, eggs.
Oh, you are so whiny. What is wrong with you? I was just wanted to make sure. I wanted to make sure you had a good full tummy before I put you on the air. What's going on, brother?
Well, you're the one. You're talking about that house that you're working on.
Uh-huh.
But you're leaving out all the good parts.
Which house and which good parts?
Well, the one that has a variety of problems.
Boy, does it ever.
such as they went in there and cut parts of the ceiling out, and now the ceiling is all but about ready to fall in. And
yeah, we had to go up and we had to brace up the ceiling when we saw a little sag in the ceiling that the owner asked us to fix, but it was more than a little. It was a pretty good sag. And so I told my guys, go take out a little piece of sheetrock and let's see if we can figure out what's wrong with this ceiling. And we get up there and the entire ceiling is basically floating because the previous contractor cut it loose and never reattached it. It's insanity.
and I could go on, but since you're short on time, the reuse, reclaim, recycle, using the green theme is really the people that I build houses for that enjoy getting into the reuse thing. Find stuff on the internet from everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's amazing the amount of, there's a guy out of, it's outside of Decatur. He goes up to Michigan and cuts down old barns and brings all the wood back, and then he makes them into beams. And then he takes those beams and let's say you're going to do a cathedral ceiling in a new house, or you're remodeling an existing house. He'll take these beams and he's using 100, sometimes 120-year-old wood, stuff that was that dates back longer than you and I have been around.
Combined, I hope.
Back to the late 1800s, early 1900s, and turns them into these beautiful wood beams, and bug-free, of course, and then can put them up, and they're just absolutely gorgeous. And then a lot of times he'll take the barn wood that was on the face of these barns and use it in various places too. So there's a guy locally, or was, I guess he's still there in Denton, that will take old trees. I've taken trees to them in the past, and they will actually fabricate, kill and dry, and pre-finish a mantle for you. So if you had a tree fall down in the front yard from a storm and it breaks your heart, which it would, you could actually take a piece of that and have that converted to a piece of furniture or usable wood, and it could always stay with you. You could always have a story about how that mantle was, grew up in the front yard or whatever. And that's what I did with them, actually. So it worked out pretty good. We're going to have to man, I really appreciate you calling. I'm glad to do it. Have yourself a good weekend.
I am. You too.
Take care.
All right. So we are Chris was talking about using green practices by reusing wood. Anytime you recycle or reuse a product, whether it's wood or whatever it is, during your building or remodeling your home, you recycling is the ultimate green. But my comments earlier were kind of geared towards just being careful with some of it, because you don't want to introduce something into your house that you don't want there because you recycle. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back on the other side of the hour, we're going to have part one of First Generation Americans in Construction with my good friend, Eduardo Padilla Cisneros. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.